We're very close to wrapping up all the film festival content now with the second last film that I saw at this festival and the second Richard Linklater film that I saw at the festival. His latest feature, Blue Moon. So, let's get into it. So, while Nouvelle Vague was Richard Linklater's foray into something more stylish and visually interesting, Blue Moon feels completely different as a chamber piece focused on conversation and just characters just babbling on. That is a genre that a lot of people love, and it was very huge during the pandemic era of films, as a lot of people were confined to one room with social distancing. It just felt like the perfect genre for that time, and because of that we got a lot of those types of movies, which I became quite sick of personally. So whenever I see one pop up, I'm very skeptical of these movies, and I do think some are better than others. Some do really work, and when executed perfectly, the confinement of being in one singular space doesn't really impact you as much as you think it would. Blue Moon has a little bit of both here, where I think there are parts of it that are quite excellent, and there are other things that make this feel a little lackluster and by the book regarding this genre. So the film mostly follows Lorenz Hart, played by Ethan Hawke, right after watching the premiere of Oklahoma and seeing that blossom into a real-time classic right in front of their eyes. And it explores a lot of the emotions he has regarding this groundbreaking hit at the time, as well as just a lot of his thoughts about life, his relationship status, his dealing with alcoholism, and sometimes being a little bit ignorant to some of the things that are holding him back, like the fact that he could have worked on Oklahoma and had ideas that led to its creation, but due to his split from Richard Rodgers, he wasn't really involved and got replaced with another lyricist. Because of that, this character is extremely bitter, and sometimes I feel like that is coming from the character, but there are other aspects of this movie that feel like Linklater himself is very bitter to the state of entertainment and cinema as of today, and it almost feels like Hart is at times a mouthpiece for the filmmaker. Now, I could be wrong here, but that's how it comes across sometimes with a lot of these thoughts, and at times it works to the movie when it feels authentic to the character, but there are other moments that I just couldn't quite get behind, where it almost felt like a bitter filmmaker going on and on and on about how they don't like how things are turning out and are upset that we're not in the good old days anymore. And that's understandable for a lot of generations. We all think that our generation was the best, but I don't like that spilling into the movie as much as this does, even if there are some thought-provoking moments here, like being very critical of an audience, just accepting very bare bones, low effort productions that impress them, and almost demanding that an audience expect more and be critical of work so that artists are pushed to make the best possible thing imaginable. That's a testament that I quite agree with, and moments like that are really well weaved into the film. But yeah, I am a little mixed on some of the thoughts that are projected here, and it blurring the lines between a character saying it and the filmmaker. And while that is a mixed element of the movie to me, I do think it does mostly work, and Ethan Hawke in his performance as Hart is outstanding. It's one of my favorite performances of the year and some of the best work that he has done. He is dolled up in a little bit of makeup. He has this comb over. He doesn't look the most impressive, and he is made to look pathetic and very bitter at times, especially when he meets up with a lot of the people that were involved in Oklahoma. It feels like a really sad person just ruining a fun party for everyone else, and to see that happen, it becomes very sad and a little bit pathetic, but it also provides something very insightful about Lorenz Hart himself and what caused this split between his collaborators that could have caused a lot of success in his life. And while that is all strong, and I do think it's fairly well shot for a chamber piece, even though I don't think these types of films lend themselves to be the most visually impressive. This one looks okay. The biggest weakness to me is some of the relationship stuff that is happening within this film. For example, Hart is fawning over this character played by Margaret Qualley, who he met in a college, and he seems to think that they had this real connection. And Margaret Qualley, yes, she likes him, but for different reasons than what Hart maybe thinks where things are going. And there is something interesting in here, especially the way that it plays out by the end of the film, which I won't spoil. But for the most part, this aspect of the film, it just felt like Hart simping over her a lot of the time, and it just didn't quite interest me that much and hook me into it. And that's a shame, because there is a huge portion of this movie that is directly about this relationship. A good 20-minute back and forth scene between Hawke and Qualley. And I don't think Margaret Qualley's performance was quite as excellent as I would have hoped. I'm a big fan of Margaret Qualley. She won Best Supporting Actress at my Eddie Awards last year. I absolutely love and adore her work. But this one, it feels like she was miscast a little bit, and I couldn't quite buy into the scenes that she had with Hawke, especially in that moment where it was setting up to be perhaps an Oscar scene for the both of them, but it just didn't quite strike me as that, and kind of let me down a little bit. I just kind of got a bit uninterested with that back and forth and what was going on, because it felt pretty generic as a whole and not something incredibly interesting to me. Overall, I think Blue Moon is an okay movie. It's not my favorite by any means. It's not one that I will think is one of my best movies of the year, but it does have individual moments in it that I think are excellent, and I think many people that really adore chamber pieces will get a lot out of it. As I said, this genre doesn't tend to be one that I gravitate towards all that much, so it needs to do a lot to win me over, and this just didn't quite do that for me. Even though I think it's technically well crafted, it does have moments of great screenwriting, as you would expect from a Richard Linklater film, and it has wonderful performances, with Ethan Hawke being absolutely outstanding as this very three-dimensional character that has a lot of insecurities. I think that character is interesting, and the way that it's played was incredible. But as a whole, as a total film, it's a bit hit or miss for me. And as a score, I'm going to have to give Blue Moon a 3 out of 5, because I think it's okay, but it's nothing to write home about personally. And I do think that this is the weaker one of the two Linklater films that are releasing this year. And anyway, those are my thoughts towards Blue Moon. Let me know what you think about this movie in the comments below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And if you have seen both Blue Moon and Nouvelle Vague, I'd love to hear which one you would prefer out of the two. Me personally, Nouvelle Vague tends to gravitate towards me a lot more, and it's one of my favorite movies of the year, while Blue Moon, not so much, even though I enjoyed and appreciated a lot of moments about it. Love to hear which one you'd prefer in the comments below. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.